online invitation that I
Oh, what was there?
don't know. It might be on the website
On the web page. Okay.
with special meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll give you a couple minutes, Marie.
Yeah, I got it off of the announcement, the public notice.
We'll wait and see if Commissioner Kavesi can link. We're waiting. Ken, any numbers on that free testing clinic?
The first 2 days we had, I think it was a couple hundred total, maybe 250, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And they were running about an 8% positive rate. But we didn't have any information since then. They got a rush, the first couple of days of people coming in.
Yeah.
So we were just, matter of fact, we were checking today to see.
But now, how quick are those tests? I'm getting mixed.
Morning, everybody.
24 to 48 hours.
Morning, Marie.
Because I'm hearing okay, we'll catch up. Okay, Marie's with us. All right. And Greg, you're there? And,
He's muted, but I see him.
okay. All right. We will call to order the special meeting of the Winona County Board. Please, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Just to the flag,
Of the
United States of America,
and to
and
the
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation under God,
God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. The purpose of this meeting this morning is to address the absentee ballot board. And
Bless you, Chris.
we have a recommendation. And maybe Attorney Sonneman, do you want to give us a little background, being that we asked you to prepare this?
Sure.
And it looks like you worked over the weekend. Thank you.
Both Ms. Sukla and I worked over the weekend. So,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
So, and before that too, but getting finalizing it yesterday, actually, before Bronx closed, so I could get some pumpkins. Fix them up. So, anyways, yeah, this arose out of, well, it was kind of a convergence of many things. Mr. Papenfuss, who I see in the audience today, had asked some questions to the board about the absentee ballot board. So I've incorporated those questions and answers into this recommendation of action and questions and answers. Also, there's been a working group that we started more than several weeks ago to expand the early voting center opportunities for voters, looking at various locations and ultimately coming to the conclusion that we could expand the capacity here at the county office building, which is the county's election office officially. So that group is still working, and we have a meeting tomorrow actually to kind of finalize some of the plans to add people to help people and look at expanding the number of folks that would be helping assisting voters during the in-person early voting period, which is a form of absentee, but it's a lesser type of application. It's a simple application. And that's from October 27th through November 2nd, except for that Sunday. This latter action about the early voting center really is to address and really, I think, expanding the absentee ballot board too. As I think we've all read about and noticed that this is an unprecedented election. We've already in Minnesota had an extremely high amount of absentee ballots requested and returned. And Winona County is experiencing that same early voting. So anyways, so the recommended action here, and if you have any questions about the questions and answers, I'd be glad to address those. But the recommended action here is to consolidate the original absentee ballot board, the mail ballot board, the overseas military ballot board, which is the UOCAVA ballot board, which you had established by resolution January 7th of 2020, and combine them into one absentee ballot board, and then add a sufficient number of election judges who, with the deputy auditors who are already on the combined ballot board, would perform tasks of the absentee ballot board. And yesterday, Ms. Sukla had indicated to me that she would also need some additional assistance from additional deputy auditors. So that would also be a recommended action here in terms of just expanding the number of individuals serving on what would be the combined absentee ballot board. And that would include, for the election judges, that would include members of all the major parties. What we discovered in terms of talking with the Secretary of State's office, and I've referenced Stella Haig in my recommended action packet here. She's with the Secretary of State's office. She's an elections staff member there who we've consulted with in the past. And she stated that or reiterated that the individuals from the major parties have to be election judges. They also have to be election judges, the names of people that were forwarded by the political parties as of May 1st, 2020. The final list was May 1st, 2020. So they have to be on those lists from the major parties. And the four major parties are the Republican Party, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, the two legalized cannabis marijuana parties. However, in looking at that list yesterday, I noticed that the only parties listed on that list are Democrats and Republicans. There weren't any marijuana party representatives on the list. So what I have put together is a resolution then for your consideration that would include adding an election judge or election judges, 2 from the Republican Party, 2 from the Democratic Party, although it's up to you. And then adding the names of those individuals that would also add to the number of deputy auditors. If you've taken a look at, and you can do that, it's very substantial. The Secretary of State's office now has a data portal that shows how many absentee ballots have been requested by county and how many have been returned, and it's a phenomenal number. And so I think Ms. Sukla has kind of calculated how long it's going to take to go through all those absentee ballots and process them, and it will be a steady, long day of many long days of processing those ballots. And as we've indicated in the question and answer part of here, those absentee ballots can start being processed as of October 21st, I think it is. Yeah, Wednesday. And as we've indicated, to ensure adequate time to process the ballots. So the resolution then combines again the addition of the election judges plus additional deputy auditor individuals, and these are all members of the county staff, people from various departments.
Item number 3.
Item number 3, yes. Mm-hmm.
Those are county staff people?
That's right. These are in addition to the individuals who are on the ballot board now.
Okay.
So it would be additional staff people because of the volume of absentee ballots already submitted, anticipated to come in because of the volume of absentee ballots that have been sent out as requested by voters. Ms. Sukla felt that it was important to have enough people. We also did ask the Secretary of State's office about having clerical assistants, people who wouldn't be on the ballot board but would provide, just basic clerical assistance. And as our answer indicates, that is allowed. However, only the ballot board members are the ones who can touch the voted ballot once it is, well, they separate it from the envelope. The only thing that clerical can do is take those absentee ballot envelopes when they come in, timestamp them, and then put them wherever is set up a place, a secure.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. I have a couple questions, if this is the appropriate time.
Sure, yes.
Thank you. So it looks like we have on our proposed resolution, we have 4 slots, 2 for Democrats, 2 for Republicans. Now, I assume that the counting will start on the 21st and it will go on every day for a certain period of hours. So is it anticipated that that like 2 of those 4 people will be there all the time? And is 4 enough given the extent of the number of days and the hours?
Maybe Ms. Sukla can speak to that. I mean, I just put those slots there as an example, really. We talked about 1 or 2 from each party, but then when it was determined that there is no legalized marijuana representatives because they didn't submit a list by May 1st, or there's two separate marijuana parties, then so it's I think ultimately up to you to select, but then Ms. Sukla as auditor treasurer, she organizes and trains and I think determines how many people can actually be in that room at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that we have enough to cover the extended number of days and hours so that it doesn't slow things down. And then I sort of wanted to know if someone doesn't show up for their shift, what do we do? Can we proceed without them? Do we have to wait for them? Is there a list to call? I mean, just those contingencies.
Right, so maybe Ms. Sukla could answer that.
Yeah, and if I could add into Commissioner Myers, is it mandated that, say, someone can't show up? Is it mandated you have equal representation, or do you proceed with whoever shows up?
Yeah.
It's not so much equal representation. It talks about that there should be, if you're going to have election judges, and as we pointed out, it's not required under state law to have election judges for absentee ballot boards. But it certainly is a transparent way to conduct the processing of the ballots. But it doesn't talk about equal representation. It just says to make sure that there are members of the parties. So,
okay.
Well, I feel like we need to provide that opportunity. If they fail to bring someone forward, either party, in the end, we can't force anyone to do this process. We just have to, my view is we need to provide that opportunity for
right,
them
and
to
that's what this
participate.
is. So.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Sandra.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I am in uncharted waters. I've done one previous election for the presidential race, and at that time we had 3,000 absentee ballots. As of yesterday, we had already sent out over 10,200 ballots. There are a number of duties that need to be done, and my concern is, yes, having adequate staffing, because not only do we need to feed those ballots into the ballot counters, and right now the county only owns 2 ballot counters. So I've had to, change some of my processes to accommodate the fact that we have, limited time, limited staff, limited equipment. prior to even feeding those ballots, we do need individuals opening up the brown secrecy envelopes, verifying that those ballots are for the precinct that we are intending to process. So we will probably, I am hoping to work, I mean, obviously the ballot counter would be teams of 2. The actual verifying of precincts, I'm thinking it might be better to perhaps have a bigger group. Depending on today's outcome, I guess that'll help me determine the work group size, the time, etc. One of the reasons I guess I was hoping to just continue to use county staff is exactly what Commissioner Jacobs' current concern was. What if the people don't show up? It takes time out of everybody's day to track people down. County employees, we have a little more control over what they do. They can be reprimanded, obviously, if they don't do what they were expected to do. So like I said, depending on today's outcome, that'll give me a clearer picture of what we do starting Wednesday morning, as far as team size, start time, etc. And I could be totally wrong. Maybe we'll zip through 10,000 ballots like nobody's business. However, I'd rather err on the safe side that we start doing it so that we're not scrambling, you know, election night that Winona County won't have an accurate count to report.
Sandra,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Jacob, and then we'll go to Commissioner Kavesi.
so with Commissioner Myers' question about, would you like us to provide a larger pool than 2 from each party? To be able to, not that you would have to have more than 2 there at any time from each party, but would it be better if there was more names in that pool to draw from?
The other thing I would prefer not to do is have to train 8 different people. If I do training, I'd like, you know, some commitment from this individual that I will show up X amount of days so that I'm not constantly retraining or training new individuals over and over again. That's another beauty of using county staff. I can get them all together at once, go through the process.
So that in order for those people to understand what kind of time commitment, is it like roughly 2 40-hour weeks that they're going to have to put in?
I would say with certainty, at least a 40-hour week.
40-hour week.
And I will be very upfront with you. This is very boring work. It's very tedious. I am very willing to break the day up, that you're not just feeding ballots through 8 hours a day. You know, we can break that up. But I would say I'd ask at least, I would say per day, a 4-hour time commitment from these individuals.
You're thinking potentially 40 hours total for that individual day, if they're the ones that are chosen.
Yeah, if that works with their schedule, you know, because obviously I can't force them to do this, but
No.
I do agree with you. It's nice to know what's expected of me before I come.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, as a board, all we can do is provide that opportunity, and if they want to participate in it, then they're conclusion that they trust everything that's going on. So,
Okay.
I feel good about how we're proceeding with this.
Okay, Commissioner Kavesi?
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I did a little reading and read some of the statutes and also the Secretary of State's guide for training. And Winona County has a guide for training on there, also on the website also. And somewhere in there, if you want, I'll try to track it down specifically, but there was information that if the election judge does not show, then the head election judge can appoint someone else who's been trained. So there is a process if the election judges are absent from their duties. I did have some other questions. These are election judges. Will there be challengers present also?
challengers are not allowed on ballot.
Okay,
And Karen, that is what I forwarded to you yesterday.
Yeah,
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Secretary of State's office, but yes, we've received both security updates, which I've shared with the law enforcement in terms of election day and early voting, as well as the issue of the challenger.
Okay, I have some other questions. Is it time for me to continue?
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner. Kaveh.
Okay, in the statute, it says that the county board appoints election judges for precincts in unorganized territories, and that municipalities appoint judges by the governing body of the municipality. Does that mean that the county board has election judges for the precincts in the rural areas, and then the city appoints their own election judges? Where does that put us for this all county absentee ballot experience? Are we allowed, do we appoint those, or does the city participate also?
Commissioner Kavesi, I'm not sure what you're reading from other than the election statute. I understand that, but the ballot board has its own statute and its own process. So what we're speaking of today is just the ballot board, and what you're talking about, I believe, is appointments of election judges in the precincts during a regular election day.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I was understanding, that
Yeah.
she was misunderstanding.
Townships do their.
Right.
They're gonna
Right, and-
continue.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just for this day, we, for these days, since it's a absentee ballot experience, we do that.
And if I can also clarify, this absentee ballot board does not process the absentee ballots that come in during the October 27th through the November 2nd early voting in person. That's the voter themselves puts the ballot into the machine at that time. So.
Okay, and do we have training that's scheduled, or is that to be determined? We have until the 21st to provide trained election judges. And I assume some of the judges have already been trained.
Actually, the election judge portion of the early voting center begins on October 27th.
Okay,
The transport officers that will be assisting us at the DS200 ballot counter have all received their link to a 2-hour online training. And their supervisor will be following up and making certain that they all take the training, so they'll be certified. And myself and my Katie Theed and Polly Graydon are all election judges, and we will be the ones actually handing out ballots to those voters that come in during the direct balloting period.
but the people we are appointing with party affiliation, they are election judges, correct?
I would actually need to verify that by going, I would assume they are, however, I can verify whomever I've trained. However, I would have to reach out to the Winona City Clerk to verify that people she uses have taken the training this year.
And I
But
think,
the people in our process here at the county, the people that would be on the party affiliation list and then would volunteer to come in, they are election judges and they do have training. Is that correct?
Commissioner Kavesi, they may have been trained in the regular, what I'll call the day of the election training. They may have participated as election judges in the primary or perhaps a township race earlier in the year. The training that these election judges would need coming into the absentee ballot board is a special training that Ms. Sukla, I believe, because I think we had that conversation a while ago, that you'd be providing that training for them, right?
I don't believe I read anywhere where to serve on ballot board, you
Okay.
need to be an election judge. Because the process isn't the same as serving at a polling site.
Well, what I mean is that these individuals are the ones from the May 1st. Some of them have already been election judges in other elections, but there may be a specific, and I thought there was a specific training for the absentee ballot board processing. So.
Right, well, Madam Chair, our resolution indicates, if that, our resolution may need to be changed. At this point, it says that these individuals will have been trained as election judges as of May 1st, 2020, and be on that judge list. And it's my understanding that they need some additional training that has to do with absentee balloting, right? So I'm reading that on the second page of our resolution.
Resolution part, yeah, let me,
Yeah, therefore be it resolved, item number 2, kind of in the middle of the page.
yeah, a sufficient number of election judges as provided in sections 204B to 204, or the 204B to perform the task, and who are on the list of election judges. It doesn't speak to that they're trained as election judges. It's just that they are on a list provided by the political parties, and that's the list that we have to take the names from.
Yeah, okay. And the other just point of clarification is that there will be 2 kinds of voting going on from the 27th to the 2nd, because the Ms. Suchla's office will still be taking absentee ballots that come in from the mail. But in addition to that, there will be early voting where people come in and put their ballots directly in the machines themselves. So we still will need this ballot board during that period to still do the absentee ballots, correct?
Will need to be in place until November 10th. That's the last day we're
Yeah.
able to accept ballots that meet the criteria set out by the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, so it isn't just the 1 week, it actually is that entire period from the 21st to the 7th?
The 10th.
10th, pardon me. And I am wondering if we can, if we decide that, let's say, 1 from each party, we want or will invite 1 from each party to be present during that, like whatever the hours are that we're counting absentee ballots. But if we could have flexibility to say that the pool could be up to 8 individuals, 4 from each party. And I am only trying to make it so that not that you have to do a bunch of training, but just to make it more flexible so there isn't a time when you have to stop counting, or because someone's not present, or if we need to be explicit and say that the counting will proceed even if that representative from the party is not there.
Yeah, I prefer that the group we begin with is the group we finish with.
Yep. So if, and with Commissioner Meyer's concerns, if we had 8 people trained, you could use this room, do all 8 of them at once, potentially. You got enough social distancing room. Then you don't have to go through the process 8 times.
Mhm.
And then we would decide whether we want to have 2 present at all times or 1 present. that would be.
Well, and that's what I would like clarified though, because I would not feel comfortable if one party's representative doesn't show up. Is it fair to leave the other party's representative here?
I think so. I think that's their luxury to be able to be there. And we've gone through all this and provided, look at the time you've spent on it, the attorney has spent on it, the county board spending on it. We're providing that opportunity for them to be there. This has to be willing participation. We can't force anyone to do anything. If they don't show up, that doesn't take the privilege away from the other party to be there
Well,
to do the examination.
I want to know what the statutes say though.
Right. Yeah, I would want whatever we choose to do to be defensible if
Right.
there's a challenge, a legal challenge.
I agree, but we don't want to slow up the count.
Right,
We
exactly.
don't want to be accused of not doing our job also. So I do have a question. So we were, back in January, we were given 9 names, which were all county staff. And now we've got, 8 names on number 3, which are all county staff. Did those county staff, can they wear 2 hats? Did they declare, or maybe they weren't listed as election judges by any party? They don't show up on any election judge list? Have
No.
we, they don't. Okay, they're
And-
not.
And county staff is not required to have a party affiliation.
Right. But I guess if they're not on the list of election judges, that takes away that question. And they weren't listed as judges.
We don't know
If they were,
what political affiliation county staff has.
right.
We only know the ones that we're allowing to be part of the process to bring that balance to the process.
Right, but we haven't verified that these, 17 names don't show up on any election judge lists.
Haven't compared them.
Okay, so I mean, maybe that should be done?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a prohibition. If it facilitates having extra people to
I
be
mean,
able
that
to call on,
does it
know.
complicate the issue? Say one of these 17 people is also on the election judge sheet for a particular party. Does that cause any problem? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think
Is
they
there
would
any
have to,
conflict?
well, their deputy, the ones that are already on from January are deputy auditors. I believe Sandra has sworn them in.
So they've taken an oath
They've taken
to,
an oath as a deputy auditor.
Okay,
I guess I would be more comfortable from a legal point of view that you have separate election judges, a cadre of election judges and a cadre of deputy auditors
Okay.
serving on the absentee ballot board.
So Ms. Sonneman,
Yes.
how do you feel about this issue if we proceed, even if one party fails, their representative fails to show up? What is your recommendation on that?
I'm looking up the statute. I
Awesome.
didn't bring my other notebook that has the.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me.
I don't disagree with what Commissioner Jacob is saying. I just want it to be defensible in court. So I'm hoping we can satisfy both.
Madam Chair?
yeah, Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, when I look at the duties of the ballot board itself, in the Minnesota Secretary of State Guide for Absentee Balloting, it describes envelope review. So what exactly are the duties of the people that, or are there different duties for different kinds of ballot board members?
No, ballot board members can perform any of the duties listed on that list.
Okay, are we appointing people for the overseas balloting and for the health centers, or is that just, this is just for the balloting that's being turned in at the county office building?
No,
Commissioner Kavesi, I'm recommending that the board combine all of those duties into one ballot board.
Okay,
Ms. Sukla can assign different tasks. There's nothing that says you have to have each one of those ballot boards individually.
Okay.
More flexibility.
Just so we have somebody to do those duties.
Yeah, that definitely will be done.
Yeah.
So the answer to the question about what the election judges, in terms of should there be members of both, well, all major parties all at once, all the time, the statute just says election judges performing, and this is from 203B, sorry, get it right here, 203B for the record, 121 subdivision 2. Election judges performing the duties in this section must be of different major political parties unless they are exempt from that requirement under certain sections which really go to township and some municipal elections. So it doesn't require that they be there at the same time. I mean, that there always be, and it's not about equality of representation. It's about making sure that the ballot board consists of election judges. If you do have election judges, they are of the major political. And I would say it would be nice if you could get somebody there from each party, but right, if there are 4 from each, then you've got some nice backups.
So at this point in time, though, we don't have that list. I know Mr. Fritz reached out to them.
We do have that list.
Okay, but
Yeah,
we weren't,
As of yesterday.
okay, we haven't been.
We have the
provided
election judge list,
Right.
from
but,
each-
but
And
the,
it's easily 4 deep on each side.
It's
Okay.
very much easily 4 people on each side,
Okay.
like
it's,
100
yeah.
plus on each.
Yeah.
So moving forward here to move this process along, then do we just say, do we pick individuals, or do we just say each party picks their 4? If we go
I
with
would
4.
recommend that you just say that, that there are, if you want, say 4 slots for each of the Democratic and Republican parties, because again, you're not obligated to appoint the legalized marijuana parties specifically because they did not submit by May 1st.
Right.
So I would recommend that you authorize that the members for the election judges be members of the party that are on the May 1st list, and Ms. Sukla has that list. It was sent to her by the parties themselves, and that they are selected on that list. And that's kind of the hard part. I mean, without going through that list, if the parties themselves would prefer to identify who's on that list that they'd like to serve on the absentee ballot, that's fine. I mean, what would you prefer? Ms.
And
Sukla,
but it's
again?
just, and they would have to be, know that it's a very short turnaround time. We need this
Right.
list by Wednesday or Tuesday.
Right, look
4
at the
o'clock.
list, look at the list. They've submitted it, they should have a record of it. If they don't, they can get a copy of it from
Okay.
the Auditor Treasurer's Office and select, I would say 2 with 2 backup on each, or 4 each, that would be a nice backup.
Yeah, I think it would be important for us to just open the positions and not be a part of who that's going to be, because those individual people have, it's got to fit their schedule. They have to be able to make it work. It's a willing participation process. So I feel good about the entire resolution, the way it's written. Number 2, it just doesn't have as many slots as we're
Yeah, just
talking
add
about, but it doesn't
EIG.
really speak to a number, does it?
No, it
No.
doesn't. And again, I put in brackets on the top there, as you can see where it's highlighted, 1, 2 individuals. That was just, indicating that it's optional how many people.
So if I were to make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented and add to number 2, 4 individuals from both the Republican and the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, would that make sense?
Commissioner Jacob?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, the very first paragraph on that page, do you want to see 1 or 2 individuals at any point in time? That has been, I think, left for us to choose.
Well, you can, I think, say 4 then.
No, how many will be present when the ballot board convenes?
This is, the top paragraph is not about how many will be present
Okay,
at any time. It's how many will be serving on the ballot
Okay.
board and will be asked to do a shift, basically.
all right. And so but are we saying that we want 2 to be present when the ballot board meets, or 1, or all 4?
You could say it would be preferred to have one from each party on a shift. And there's going to be multiple shifts, right? Or how's that going to work? So those are the mechanics of how this is all going to
I
work.
mean,
And do we
right
need to
now,
say that, I guess?
envision having 2 groups of people actually verifying ballot counts per precinct, and then after they're done with their duties, they will hand off to another set of 2 groups that will start physically feeding the ballots into the machines. I think I'm going to need more room. I only have 1 room reserved, but I think logistically I need a second room.
Oh, I see a petition there.
Well,
Is that going to be big enough if you had half
no,
of this room?
it's not this room. You,
Okay, I just see a petition.
I'm-
You put that in there.
I
for
am a
reason.
bit of a control freak.
Okay.
Those ballots will travel across the hall from my office area across the hall and probably no further. So
Okay.
I do not want ballots spread out all over this building. Not to mention, we've already got this room spoken for that direct balloting period. And I just hate to have to keep shifting things around. It causes confusion, frustration, etc. However, I do need to check with admin because we all share this building. And if they have interviews going on, I can't kick them out of a room that they have reserved. So I may be forced to just use room 135. And maybe we will be down to just 2 shifts of people because we obviously have to still practice social distancing.
Oh, I'm sure administration can figure something out.
Yeah, well, we'll try.
We got space. We got
Is the
rooms.
floor open for, a lot of times we can ask the people in the audience. if
Do
they
you
any-
have a question? of
Yes,
member?
I'd
Please.
like to, since Mr. Pappenfuss is the one who came to the podium originally to bring this forward. Do you have any concerns about this process, Mr. Pappenfuss?
My name is Jerry Pappas, 225 Main, and I do represent the Republican Party of Winona County. We met on Saturday, and the members again expressed their concerns. I appreciate what the staff and the board is doing in this matter. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's very frustrating. I very much respect the process of county government, and I believe that you're on the right track, and I appreciate that. You spent a lot of time this morning talking about the board, the ballot board, but I think there are some other concerns, and I realize that these are the auditor's responsibilities, but I believe that you would be interested in how this is actually going to work. So I'm wondering when the ballot board meets, there are these envelopes, and there's a specific way that these are to be sent in, and there's a specific way about how they're going to be processed. So who is going to decide whether a ballot that comes in is qualified? For instance, if it isn't in the right envelope, is it going to be accepted? What are the rules for that specific part of this procedure? Then you're going to start counting on the 21st. What time of the day are you going to start, and how long will the day last? And the teams, if I understand correctly from the auditor, there'll be teams of 2 counting, and then do the ballots have to be postmarked? And is the day and time that they must be received? Now, the information this morning said November 11th, but it seems to me that they will have to be received in this office by a specific time and date. And November 11th being a holiday, seems to me that there needs to be something more specific there. And then, does the ballot, the absentee ballot have to have a witness? And I'll just say, based on your discussions here, that if the members of the Republican Party that are selected do not appear here on time, that I would encourage you to move ahead. These people should not hinder the process at any time.
Okay, so could I ask Sandra Sukla to maybe come back up and speak to a couple of those questions, because I bet she has a lot of those answers.
It's in the questions and answers, some of it.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so I gleaned 4 questions out of that. Rules for how ballots are qualified.
It's typically, well, let me just back up. Just so we don't confuse pre-2020 with 2020. The witness requirement was waived for registered voters. So a ballot that, and I need to start, we never reject ballots. We might reject a signature envelope. A signature envelope is typically rejected because it does not include the voter's signature. It may also be rejected because there are other things missing, like a form of identity. I could go into, I mean, it's basically like a decision tree. I would have to go grab my book. It would bore you to death if I tell you everything that we do, because we try to give that voter every opportunity to have their signature envelope approved. In the event it is not approved, that voter is given the opportunity to right their wrong, and unfortunately they have to vote a ballot over, because we do not remove that ballot from the signature envelope, but they are informed why their signature envelope was rejected by the ballot board. Now, on the other hand, if you're an unregistered voter, you do need a witness. Those individuals receive a different type of envelope, where the witness has to basically say, their name, their address. They also need to meet certain criteria to witness a new registrant, because basically what that unregistered voter is doing is registering to vote.
Mhm.
By 2 means. They would need to submit a voter registration application to us, which we would have provided to them when we mailed out their ballot packet. They also need to have this witness sign off that this individual, yes, they showed me their ID, they showed me a bank statement, etc. So that is how an unregistered voter's signature envelope can get rejected, is if they don't meet that criteria. I will address, I guess, the return times. There again, 2020 has totally different rules than prior elections. In 2020, because of the increase in absentee voting, people have been allowed the opportunity to return their ballot after the election is over on November 3rd. However, that ballot needs to have been mailed. The envelope needs to have been date stamped by the post office either on November 3rd or prior to November 3rd. Those mailed ballots must be received in our office by November 10th, because yes, November 11th is a holiday, a no-mail holiday. Plus, our canvass board meets the morning of November 12th. So I need time to we as a county need time to process all those ballots that came in between November 4th and November 10th. Ballot board will need to meet, ballot board will need to either approve or reject signature envelopes. Ballot board will need to verify counts. They will need to feed those ballots into the ballot counter. because we have what's called a flash drive on the DS200 ballot counter. That flash drive, it's what does the counting for us, puts the people into the races, puts the people into the precincts, et cetera. And we take all that data from that flash drive and we upload it onto the Secretary of State's website. So then on sometime November 10th, we will be submitting our final tally of votes for the general election. And then I might as well, so people that opt to return their ballot in person, if you're a regular absentee voter, you need to have that in our office by 3 p.m. If you live in one of the 5 mail,
Tuesday,
on
November
Tuesday,
3rd.
November 3rd, thank you. If you live in one of the 5 mail ballot precincts, you have until 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd to return your ballot to this office in person. So there's different rules regarding how you even return the ballot.
So what's the check system for if the same name comes in twice? How would anyone know whether the same name came through 2 times?
If you're talking the mechanical aspect of it,
Yeah, how is it? Yeah, I'm just
because, yeah,
how does that
because the system knows. Right now, as we're processing absentee ballot applications, be they if they're online or on paper, we plug in the name, the address, whatever we need to find that voter. If they've already requested a ballot, it pops up that they've already requested a ballot. It even tells us how it came in via mail, via online, over the counter, tells us the date that we issued a ballot to them. If that voter says, but I lost my ballot, it didn't get to me, we have a means of canceling that original ballot and reissuing a new ballot. The new ballot will have a different barcode on it, so that in the event their other ballot comes in, we try to wand it in, it'll say, no, this ballot is no longer valid.
good? And Sandra, I have to say I have just great respect for what you and your office are doing, and some of it probably sounds like you're being accused of not being accurate, but I'm trying to prevent something after the fact. That's my goal in this, that if we can have 1 or 2 people from each party there, that really puts a lot more of the onus on those people. Well, you were there, you watched the process, you were able to see the accuracy and precision and fairness of the process. So I feel good about what we're doing. I think we're on the right track to be one of the counties in the aftermath that will not be an example of what not to do. So I feel good about the process.
Can be what went right.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
Thanks. I see that Jacob Griffin, who is representing the DFL, is online. And I would like the opportunity to ask him the same question as was asked of the representative of the Republican Party. And that is if he has any questions or concerns that he would like to voice to us.
Okay, sure, we're equal. We're all about equalness.
Sure.
I didn't recognize names, so thank you. Mr. Griffin, you are muted. Now you're not muted. Did you have any concerns or questions or comments?
I just wanted to say thank you for meeting on this special meeting and considering adding some representatives from each of the major parties to the ballot board. I wish I had signed up as an election judge earlier so that I could be afforded the opportunity to join the ballot board, but that's on me. I don't have any concerns. I trust that the processes are being followed, and I know how good our auditor treasurer and the Secretary of State's office work to make sure that our elections are secure and nothing can be tampered with. So I just wanted to state that, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
By chance, do we have either of the other two parties listening in? But they did not, unfortunately, you did not appoint election judges, but is there any concern from any of the other two major parties in Minnesota that are out there listening to us? To be fair and equal? Okay, hearing none,
Chair,
we'll
to
continue to
that-
move.
To
Yes.
that point, I would just also like to propose that the resolution as it's written, because it is from the statutory language about the ballot board, if you're going to have election judges, have to be from the four major political parties in Minnesota. As of this moment, there are four major political parties. I'd like to add an asterisk with a footnote saying that, but as of the May 1st list, there were
Yes.
only Democrats and Republicans, so that in the future, yeah, we are not accused of ignoring the other two major political
Right.
parties. So
It would be good to have that
Yeah,
documented,
yeah.
so when we,
Well, where would that go exactly?
I would recommend that there be a little star footnote after the May 1, 2020 on the top page there.
first whereas on page 2.
Yeah, the first whereas on page 2, and then a footnote be added that as of the May 1st list, only the Republican Party and the Democratic Farmer Labor Party submitted names for the May 1st list.
We can, Mr. Fritz, would you be adding that to the resolution?
Yeah, we'll add it to
Okay.
the resolution, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
I just want to ask Ms. Suchla if there's anything else that she would like us to add to make, just especially logistically, to make her job easier or make it run more smoothly?
She's shaking her head no.
Okay, great.
She's thinking as she's walking to the podium.
Okay, if there's a thing that we should do, and it's
Really
okay.
Wish I knew. You gotta learn to roll with the punches in this job. Do the best you can, like I keep telling myself.
You are.
You can't be perfect. You try to achieve it, but you'll never achieve it. But it's my carrot. I don't like I said, I wish I had, I guess, maybe started planning a little bit more, but how can you plan for something as unprecedented as this? Like I said, I thought back in 16 when we did 3,000 absentee ballots, I thought if we can't keep up this pace, and here we've tripled that. And we still have 14 days to go. I was in yesterday part and part to try to get caught up, and I just ended up actually putting together a ballot order. We ordered another 4,000 ballots on top of the 38,000 we had ordered. It's just every day is new. No, I guess when I determine what I need, I will certainly reach out and let you know. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for doing such a great job. I know it's a difficult and unprecedented year, so thank you and your staff and Attorney Sonneman for working overtime and all the overtime that's going to come.
Okay,
Right, so
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to adopt the resolution with the amendment that Attorney Sonneman noted with the asterisks about which parties were represented as of May 1st. And then on number 2 on the back page, to include 4 individuals from each of the Republican and DFL parties.
Commissioner Meyer would second that.
all right, motion made by Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Meyer to approve the presented resolution with the addition of the May 1, 2020 election judges list not provided by the two other parties in Minnesota, and to add to item 2, 4 individuals from each of the Republican Party and the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Any further discussion? We will do a roll call vote on this one. I see no other discussion. Commissioner Meyer,
Meyer votes aye.
Commissioner Kavesi. Commissioner Kavesi, you're muted.
I'm trying to unmute.
Okay. We can hear, oh, we heard you.
I think she left the meeting.
Yeah, Commissioner Kavesi.
Go on, Doug.
Okay, we'll come back. Commissioner Olson?
Olson, aye.
Kavesi votes aye.
Okay, we got Commissioner Kavesi voting aye. Commissioner Jacob
Jacob, aye.
and Commissioner Ward votes aye. So it carries. All right, so we have a new process. So now it is, Mr. Fritz, will you contact both the Republican and the Democrat parties to get those names?
Yeah, we're actually already in contact with them.
Okay, all right, all right. Any other business? Just a comment, we keep talking about this as an unprecedented election, which it probably is, but we've had elections in wartime. We've had elections, you know, through the slavery issue and all these other national events. But this will probably change. Yeah, and pandemics, yes, yes.
Yeah.
The Spanish flu pandemic, was that it?
Well, they called it that, but it was, yeah.
Pandemic. So, I mean, we have had elections through a lot of different situations in our country's history, but this will probably change elections going forward, how we do them and how we vote. And,
I will move to adjourn.
Meyer will second that.
okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jacob, second by Commissioner Meyer to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Adjourn.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.